Another game I'm super excited to see a continuation of is Mafia. And guys, we have up to this point had, with the definitive editions, it's absolutely awesome that those are something that can kind of quench our thirst for coming back to this franchise and this IP that many of us really do appreciate and one that we want to see a continuation of. But what I want to talk about, guys, is Mafia 4 in particular. This is another game that not quite like Gears of War where we kind of have those like official confirmations and such. Mafia is a little bit more, there's a lot more secrecy here as to whether or not there's even going to be a continuation. But we have had some reveals, some leaks that have come out. We've also of course, I had the rumblings and the talk, speculation that Mafia 4 is being worked on at this point in time over at Hangar 13. So we're going to be talking about both sides of the spectrum, when we could expect Mafia 4 to be released and, what the setting could be and things of that nature. So let's get into it. So guys, I've talked about Mafia 4 a lot here on the YouTube channel. You guys can check it out all here on my channel. And what I will say is this, guys. We've talked about the things that we want in Mafia 4. We've talked about the things that we know at this point in time, which is pretty limited. Now, we get kind of conflicting, things and news that's come out of Hangar 13. One spectrum states that Mafia 4 is being worked on behind the scenes from leaks, but then on the other side, Hangar 13 is stating they're working on something else, but they would be interested in working on Mafia 4 at some point or another. Now, what could that next thing up and coming be that Hangar 13 is working on? It very well could be another Mafia game that they're just not revealing at this point. Could it be Mafia Online, which we've talked about as well? One of the big things that needs to happen, in my personal opinion, with Mafia, that's kept it kind of underneath games like Grand Theft Auto, is that there's not as many ways to connect with the Mafia universe as there is with GTA. For example, GTA Online, guys, is absolutely massive and people absolutely love it. It's a way that you can continue coming to the game after beating the campaign and things of that nature. Mafia needs to have something like this where you're able to go to a living, breathing place and being able to do different things within that world, because it's different from GTA, right? We're going into a period, set time, and with GTA it's more modern day, whereas this is more in the past. And I think a Mafia Online would be pretty much exactly what the doctor ordered, at least for the community and for our perspective. Now sure, anytime you get into anything like that, like a multiplayer, something that Hangar 13 has not done in the past with Mafia, sure, you're going to be taking some risks. It might not be perfect from the very beginning, but the idea is that you have something to build off of. So could the next thing Hangar 13 is working on is a Mafia Online? That's a possibility as well. There's a possibility, of course, that they're working on a completely new IP that we have no idea about at this point in time. But for me, guys, I do believe that Hangar 13 is working on Mafia in one way or capacity or another. So I believe Hangar 13 is definitely has a team that is working on Mafia 4. There's a reason why we've had leaks and, there's talk about a setting being set in Vegas, guys, for this upcoming title. I do believe that they are working on a Mafia game set in Vegas. Now, could they be have a separate team that's working on Mafia Online? Absolutely. Maybe they are working on another IP as well. There's no telling how big of a team, Hangar 13 really is. Would they be able to work on multiple projects at once? It's hard to say. But I do think, guys, that Mafia is definitely their strongest IP at this point. And I believe that what they really need to do is hone in on making, of course, the story really great, making there tons of content that we can absorb, because that's been the problem up to this point in the Mafia games. Great stories, absolutely so solid, so good. But after you're done beating the game and doing all the side stories and such, you might try to go back through and beat the game a second time. But at the end of the day, after beating it a couple times, you're going to move on to other games. Mafia Online and co-op modes and things of that nature would certainly bring you back to the experience over time. And that's why I put so much emphasis on that. Now, when could we see a Mafia 4? Well, we haven't gotten official confirmation as of yet, guys, from Hangar 13 of the existence of Mafia 4. They certainly are talking about doing it. The definitive editions came out, and I've spoken on a previous 8 Below show that you know, the definitive editions very well could be, you know, setting up Mafia 4. It's kind of, I guess you could say it's quenching our thirst, but at the same time, it's also giving Hangar 13 an opportunity to see how big of a community does Mafia still have and how many people are coming into that universe and trying out the game and such to see what they could really do with a Mafia 4. And definitive edition, guys, absolutely great what they've accomplished here from just a, you know, from story to graphically absolutely incredible. I think it's great. And so I'm very excited to see what they decide to do moving forward here. When could we get an announcement for this? Well, guys, I think the earliest we will see a, you know, an official, you know, trailer or a confirmation at least of the existence of Mafia 4 would be in probably mid to late 2021. And I'm not sure, depending on what all it encompasses, that being like, does it have story as well as multiplayer? Is it just a story? You know, there's a lot of question marks there. So I would say that if you're talking 2021 at some point, it'll probably come out in 2022 unless there's a lot more to the game than, you know, than what we've had in the past. That's my hope, at least, guys. I really, really hope that we get a Mafia game that's a full package, even if it takes another number of years, something that we get full campaign, multiplayer, and co-op modes. I think that would be absolutely incredible. That would put us on that tier, even though it might not be necessarily the exact same as Grand Theft Auto. I've stated in the past, I like Mafia more than Grand Theft Auto, but Grand Theft Auto has done a much better job as far as from a marketing perspective, but also from just bringing people back to the game over time. There's no comparison there between the two of them. So ultimately, guys, if Hangar 13 truthfully is not working on Mafia 4 at this point, they're working on a different game, I would assume that they're going to show us what their next game that they're working on, regardless whether it's Mafia or something else, they're going to show us next year. They're going to show us in 2021 at some point. And most likely, if it's a completely new IP that they're working on, I would assume we'll see that probably in maybe late 2021 or 2022. And then from there, after that game is, you know, solidified and brought out and such, then we can start talking again about Mafia 4. But fingers crossed, guys, that Mafia 4 is the next game that comes out from Hangar 13, or at least a Mafia Online that we can go to, and we can at least, that'll be another way to quench your thirst while you're waiting for the next story to come out of Mafia and Hangar 13. But I really want to hear from you guys. What do you think the timeline is here for Mafia 4 to come out and for us to get our hands on the game? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Mafia 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.